In a compelling interview on Amapur and Company, Clay Risen, author of The Red Scare, dissected the anatomy of Joseph McCarthy's notorious crusade. Risen illuminated how McCarthy would manufacture excuses when his communist smear campaigns disintegrated under scrutiny, transforming his alleged national security investigations into malicious gossip campaigns against the powerless. McCarthy's record was abysmal. He uncovered no genuine communist threats, much as the Irish state agents perpetrating transnational repression, in my case, failed to produce evidence demonstrating any legitimate risk. Risen further articulated a chilling reality that pervaded the Red Scare era. Lawyers were exceptionally difficult to secure, petrified by fear of representing clients branded as disloyal or designated security risks. Legal professionals trembled at the prospect of losing clients and experiencing McCarthy's coercive power. This is reflective of state sponsored crime, which operates behind the institutional drapes of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, where such coercive power impeded a law firm, Phoenix Law, and the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission from taking on my case. Yet the tide eventually shifted during that era. Courageous people began confronting McCarthy's tyranny. Their lawful defiance would go on to illuminate a path for others like myself to follow. I'm Kiana Canada, and this is Mimicking McCarthyism, an examination of an obstruction of justice, a series of human rights violations in Belfast, and whether a national inquiry is in order. Between 1953 and 1954, a broadcaster named Edward R. Murrow mounted an unprecedented challenge against McCarthy's autocracy. As Risen observed, Murrow's voice proved instrumental in dismantling McCarthy's power structure. Through his pioneering program, See It Now, Murrow challenged the pernicious ad hominem tactic of guilt by association. His groundbreaking episode, The Case Against Milo Radulovich, exposed the profound injustice inflicted upon a man vilified as a security risk, even though evidence that his family harbored communist sympathies was insufficient. This raises an important question. Does the McCarthyist guilt by association machinery persist today? In Risen's interview, he illuminates McCarthy's exploitation of the newspaper ecosystem. For example, McCarthy would deliberately propagate falsehoods to journalists immediately before publication deadlines, knowing they would print the information without fact checking it. How does this calculated exploitation of media deadlines and journalistic integrity prefigure the sophisticated disinformation campaigns we confront today? Well, this manipulation bears striking resemblance to how an agent of persecution instructed the Belfast Telegraph to publish a photograph of me, labeling me an anti-immigrant protester, without verifying my activism. When institutional safeguards themselves become compromised by those wielding covert influence, what recourse remains for those ensnared in the modern McCarthyist apparatus? The significance of a national inquiry by the Commission cannot be overstated when examining contemporary manifestations of McCarthyism. To reiterate, in the present context, the Northern Ireland has placed reliance on a powerful agent of persecution who defames, obstructs the right to education, and subjects people like me to political repression because it's easy to oppress blackness in a society dominated by whiteness. As stated in earlier episodes, the Commission possesses the statutory authority to conduct investigations, compel testimony, and bring proceedings when systemic human rights violations occur. The Commission in Northern Ireland cannot refuse to exercise its statutory authority on ethnic and nationality grounds. It cannot be denied that a comprehensive national inquiry would scrutinize these transnational repression tactics, document patterns of abuse, and hold perpetrators operating in Northern Ireland accountable. So what's stopping the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission from acting? Agents of persecution relying on contemporary McCarthyism often make use of accusation in the mirror, a propaganda technique whereby perpetrators falsely attribute to their adversaries precisely the transgressions they themselves intend to commit. This rhetorical mechanism operates with devastating efficacy. When victims captured by Irish American intelligence apparatus lodge complaints against discrimination, intimidation, and harassment, the agencies systematically subject them to the very abuses they reported. The state apparatus manufactures a perverse justification, quote, because they accused us of this conduct, we shall now engage in it, end quote, thereby obscuring the original culpability while simultaneously victimizing the complainant. This technique transforms legitimate grievance into apparent prophecy, making the victim's disclosure appear as provocation rather than documentation of pre-existing state crimes. Moreover, the calculated nature of this re-victimization serves dual purposes. It discredits the original complaint by making it appear hysterical and exaggerated, while simultaneously satisfying an institutional appetite for racial domination. Another dimension distinguishing contemporary McCarthyism from its historical antecedent is the state's deployment of strategic ingratiation, a calculated technique whereby agents of persecution manipulate community members into cooperation through psychological flattery and manufactured incentive. This social engineering exploits fundamental human desires for recognition, security, and advancement. The manipulative script follows predictable patterns. 1. You're not a criminal like her, establishing moral hierarchy. You deserve to be here more than she does, manufacturing entitlement. You're the genuine talent in this community, exploiting ego. Out of everyone, you're the rational one, isolating the victim. This arrangement will benefit all of us, don't you see? Creating illusory collective interest. We'll be safer without her presence on this campus. Invoking fear. All of our problems trace back to her, can't you see it? Establishing a scapegoat. This represents your opportunity to advance. Take it while you can. Promising reward. Exploit her before she exploits you. Fostering preemptive hostility. Does any element of these superordinate goals sound familiar to you? It describes how groups can be manipulated into coordinating against someone even when what appears to be, quote, a threat, end quote, is manufactured. Contemporary Irish American McCarthyism thrives on negative interdependence, the perception that one group's gain necessitates another's loss. Should we permit this unlawful practice to thicken, countless diaspora communities will be systematically denied fundamental human rights, including freedom of expression, due process, and equal protection under the law. As Edward R. Murrow declared during his uncovering of McCarthy's apparatus, someone must take a stand. If not you, then whom? The question is no longer whether Ireland and the U.S. are perpetrators of transnational repression. The evidence is overwhelming that both are. The question is whether we possess sufficient moral courage to name them as agents of this state crime. See you next time.